While reaction continues in the ag sector following Russia's invasion of Ukraine this week. And while the impact has already hit the markets, many are still speculating over potential ripple effects to the U.S. ag industry. Senior analyst with HTS Commodities, Walter Kunisch, joins us now with further perspective. And Walter, thank you very much for your time here today. Those countries are two of the world's top wheat exporters. What could this invasion this week mean for the global supply and food security?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me back. You're right. This year, both Russia and Ukraine are projected to export about 28% of the world's total wheat exports. So while the situation in and around Ukraine is fluid and it's evolving, there are various port closures. There's trade finance that's being limited, and we view the situation in Ukraine as being perhaps a very unique opportunity for the U.S. farmer to perhaps realize more wheat exports.
Now, does this create some opportunity again for U.S. farmers? And if so, how soon might we see those opportunities?
Again, given the fluidity of the situation, we're watching and monitoring U.S. data to see if the world is actually returning to the U.S. and buying U.S. wheats, whether that's hard wheat or soft wheat. We've heard reports today from Bloomberg that world buyers are looking to purchase wheat from Poland and Germany. But again, based on the data that we're seeing, we believe that we could see enhanced or increased U.S. wheat exports, which would be we believe would be a large boost to the U.S. farmer.
Now, the sanctions on Russia so far, those don't appear to touch agricultural commodities. But what could the impact of wheat or corn sanctions actually look like?
Again, the sanctions, you're right, from whether it's the U.S., the UK or the EU, do not specifically target Russian or Russian agricultural exports. However, what's been an interesting development is that the sanctions do touch on the banks. The banks provide export financing to agricultural commodities in those regions. So if the banks continue to tighten down, and perhaps whether it's the EU banks are not willing to engage in business to finance wheat or corn exports from those countries, we believe that export business could return to the U.S. and help support U.S. futures and cash prices.
Now, Walter, China has announced it's open to importing wheat from all regions of Russia. What could that actually mean for Russia's exports in the global market?
Again, we're starting to monitor that scenario. When Russia and China signed that trade agreement earlier this month on February 8th, Russia really was not a major importer of wheat into China. We believe that given the tightness of relations between China and Russia, that we could see enhanced Russian wheat exports. And we believe that those wheat exports, the increased Russian wheat exports, could perhaps reduce exports of U.S. wheat into China. But again, that's a very fluid situation and one that we're monitoring.
So all things considered, what would you say that this now means for the U.S. farmer?
Again, we believe for whether it's the U.S. corn producer or the U.S. wheat producer, we remain very constructive on the scenario for prices lying ahead. Going back to one of my original comments, again, we believe that until Russian and Ukrainian ports open, that we could see global wheat buying return to the U.S., even at these larger prices. And if we see increased export business out of the U.S., we believe at HTS that could be positive for U.S. cash prices and U.S. futures prices.
You can go online to hilltopsecurities.com for more information. And thank you, Walter, for your time. Senior commodities analyst with HTS Commodities, Walter Kunish, on the phone with us today out of St. Paul, Minnesota.